Hello, my friends. I welcome you to another episode of Aditya Talks. And today we have Mrs. Vishikha Tripathi on our show, and she is a young poet who has written her second book, Kali. Welcome to the show, Vishikha. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Aditya. How are you?
I'm fine. It's an honor to interview you. You're an inspiration to many young children. And I think we will learn a lot throughout this interview. So stay tuned till the end, my viewers. And first of all, for our viewers, can you tell us about yourself a little? What, how you were inspired to uh, begin in literature? How were you inspired to write?
See, what basically inspired me to start writing was loneliness. I moved to India. I moved to Mumbai from Dubai in 2018, and I had difficulty making friends. So I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I naturally just picked up the pen and started writing. And what came out was poetry, and eventually these poems collected. And when I was 13, I published my first book,
Hmm.
ink on paper.
Yes.
So this came out in 2019 when I was 13 years old, and loneliness is what inspired me basically.
Yes, and a little about yourself, who you are, and just so our viewers can know about you before we begin the interview and dive deeper into the topic.
Yeah, of course. My name is Vishikha Tripathi. I am currently 16 years old, and I am a poet based in Mumbai.
Yes,
I have I've written two books, and yeah, that's about it.
okay. So first of all, thank you for coming on our show. And what inspired to inspired you to start writing poetry, and what message do you want to convey through your work? You have
Well,
written two books like right now, and you
yes.
publish a lot of poems on Instagram as well. So what
Yes.
is your message? What do you want to convey to the world?
See, the thing is, what initially inspired me to write was loneliness.
Yes.
And even though what instigated me to take up poetry was something negative, something that life stumped me with, it has helped me in a way. I've managed to build a career out of it. So, the message I wish to convey to everyone is that even when life stumps you with something negative, you can make something positive out of it. You can create things out of it.
Hmm. Yeah, so basically it inspired you and
Yeah,
made you work, like you had a lot of free time, and it gave you time to explore and find your own passion, and
exactly.
you found out that writing was your passion, and you started writing and posting, and a lot of people gave you good feedback, and you wrote your first book. That's really great to see. And what challenges did you face as a young poet, and how did you overcome them?
See, a major challenge that you face as a young person trying to invade any industry is that people don't take you seriously. You might know this yourself. You're a very talented young person trying to make a name for yourself. People don't take you seriously. They equate age with inexperience, and this might make it difficult for you to gain certain opportunities, but you can't really blame them for it. So the only way to overcome this is by proving yourself over and over with your sheer talent and persistence. You have to prove
Yes.
yourself that I am not successful because of my age, but despite of it. And I'd say you are a very big testimony of that.
Yes, I think a lot of children are there who want to do something but are pressured and consistently told that yeah, you have scope for studying only. You should study, become a doctor, engineer, and follow the norm. But you can do whatever you want. It just don't matter. You just have to prove people over and over again. Simple. Very great advice from you. And how has your poetry evolved? Like last book you wrote was around 2 3 years ago, and it's been a long time. Can you
It
tell
has.
us? Can you tell us about how your poetry evolved, and what do you hope to achieve in the future? As you said, you want to build a career out of literature and writing, and become a professional poet. As well, like, you have already become one, but as in the future, what do you aim for?
See, naturally the thing about poetry is that it doesn't change, but the style of it changes. I was a poet then and I am a poet now. What has changed is that the themes that I write on and the style I write in has gotten more rhythmic, more contemporary, and more complex, both in terms of themes and writing style. And what I hope to achieve someday is give back to the community. It goes without saying that poetry isn't the most popular thing like amongst the young people. So my goal, uh, in like not in the near future, overall would be to instill a love of poetry in the young people like us.
Hmm. Interesting. So basically, you want to spread the joy of writing, reading, and enjoying literature as in its purest form. So I think that is a very
Exactly.
interesting. So what you enjoy, you want to share with the people around you. That is really interesting. And what is your advice for young people who are interested in writing poetry and pursuing a career in the arts? And not only that, but people who want to like find their passion and start working on it from now, not after graduating or something like that.
See, first of all, my advice to people who want to enter arts would be originality. When you're like entering something in the arts, be it poetry or music or anything like that, it can be really easy and tempting to just ride off the trends and get quick recognition. But that really compromises your integrity as an artist. So creating something that is truly yours and original, it will give you authentic love from your audience and credibility in your trade.
Yes.
As for finding out what you love today goes, you just need to try everything.
Yes.
Try your hand at poetry and practice. One thing I notice about our generation is that if we are not good at it right off the bat, we give up. It
Yes.
doesn't work that way. Genius is really rare, but persistence can be earned.
Persistence is also one of the keys to success. Even if you are a genius, it does not matter. Ultimately, people who work hard and uh, try to achieve what they want and work day and night will always be ahead of you. Even if you are
Exactly.
a genius
Especially, yeah.
has natural talent, but if you don't work for it, you will never get it. And that's the
Completely
rule. That
agree.
is an unspoken rule of the world.
It
Um.
is.
Yes. So one more thing. So as for yes, so can you share, like, you have written a book, Kali? Can you share a poem
Mhm.
excerpt from the book? Something
From
just
the
to
book.
give a little tease of what awaits us in the book.
Sure. This is the book. This is the cover of the book, Kali.
Yes.
And then excerpt. This would be. I'll read you the epilogue. This is basically what the Kali is like. There's a prologue and an epilogue, and in the prologue, there's a certain riot going on in British India. You've read history. There were many uh,
Yes.
peaceful protests. This is just one such peaceful protest where the rioters are telling each other stories. So the entire book is basically a story being told by one rioter to another one peaceful protester to another.
Yes.
And this peaceful protester turns out to be Kali's brother.
Hmm. So, what is the story based on? Basically, it is based on the nationalism protests that happened during the early 20th century.
Yeah, kind of. See, that is what's happening in the background. The actual story is about an 8-year-old girl who is the daughter of a priest in British India, right?
Hmm.
And her father passes away, and her mother's pregnant, so she has to beg, and she has to ask for alms. She's forced to do that, and this book is basically about her experiences, her pains, her happiness, her wisdom, and yeah, that's what it's about.
Yes, so
But
basically, you have made a detailed story that is contained within a poem on the
yes,
challenges of a person living in those times and
yes,
facing the critical conditions that they lived under and the oppression of the British rule. And that provides for like a lot of character development as well. So that is a really great
it
idea.
does.
Yes. So one more thing. You told that for young writers, originality should be something very. Uh, but I think that is important. But it is also important to be inspired by people than steal like an artist. Because creating something is always never original. Something has already been done many times before, we don't know it, but there may be thousands of poems that have been written, that have the same composition, same story, but a different basis. Yeah.
Right,
uh,
right, of
yes,
course.
so I think the best way to progress in something is feel like an artist. Take what is best from things and combine them in your flavor, to make something new, and that
Yeah, I
will.
agree with that.
Yes, and people pay a lot of money for that only, not for originality, but for that own flavor, their own idea, that they know how to make something like this. Take the best thing from this poem and mix it to make a completely new thing.
Yeah,
So,
and that might sell, but that won't give you immortality as an artist, right? Because
hmm,
people won't like. I'm talking 100 years into the future. If Shakespeare did what the poets before him did, we would not be talking about him today, right? Do you know about John Bryan?
no.
Exactly, because he did what Shakespeare did. The reason you don't know about John Bryan is because while he was an amazing poet, right? He was a great poet, but we don't talk about him today because he didn't create anything new. The reason we talk about Shakespeare is because he created something new. So while
Yes,
John Bryan sold in his time, Lord Bryan, he was incredibly famous. He did not, become famous
as
hundreds of years
Shakespeare.
into the future.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I was
exactly.
not talking about becoming, like making a factory of poems, like just having
Right,
copying the idea, just like changing the story and just printing it out. I'm not talking about
right,
that. It's like taking creative inspiration from something, and like you have to take A from that and B from that and make it AB, and that will sell. And that is your own original idea, but it is taken from something else and something that already works, and you have
right,
added your own flavor, your own twist to it. And I think that is one of the most important things. And Shakespeare in his own time was a genius, he was a scientist, he discovered many of these things, and
right,
he did not have anybody to be inspired from. He was the
right,
inspiration for himself.
right.
Moving on, can you tell us how you use your poetry to engage with and inspire youth, and what impact do you hope to have on the world through your work?
See, one thing I've noticed in this world, like amongst the young today, is that we are facing an entire spectrum of mental health issues, right? And it's evident.
Yes.
My best friend herself took her own life earlier this year because she was going through some things. And I have found, like, I myself started writing poetry because of loneliness. You will find that expression through art helps, at least for a lot of people. So I want to convey this to the young that while you should seek professional help, obviously, that is something I advocate for. But at the same time, learn how to express yourself because it allows you a moment of self evaluation when you're writing it down, when you're creating something that is immortal. So, like I always say, in matters of the heart, art is your way out.
Yes. So basically what you're trying to say is, when in those times when you, uh, the only one who can help you is you yourself, you don't have to go outside necessarily. Not every time you don't have to go outside, you have to go inside, find the problem, solve it, and make a best friend out of your own self. Make a hobby, go and do something, try to express yourself whenever you want to do what you want, and not what you're told to. Just because I think you're living your life for yourself, not for other people. Of course you have obligations to other people, and you have
Mhm.
to respect other people, but you have to think your ideology should always be your own. And I think that is one of the factors that affects people, and mental depression as it is affecting a lot of people due to COVID-19 era as well, because a
Mhm.
lot of children were alone and did not have time to talk to other people and were stuck, and they could not do this process, and they were never taught how to reach for the inside of their selves and learn what they want to do and find their passion. I think
Mhm.
that is a really interesting thing. And how do you balance your passion for poetry and other aspects of your life? Because you're a student, right? As you told, in 11th
Right.
grade. How do you manage that?
The old fashioned way, normal, making calendars, to do lists, prioritizing, staying up nights if that's what it takes, old fashioned way. There's nothing new about it.
Yes. So basically, a lot of people don't have uh, time to manage. Like, so just share your advice on that, because a lot of children do not understand how to manage, because they are overwhelmed by studies only, and you're managing studies as well as a fully fledged business and writing and expressing yourself on a daily basis, and that is really interesting and inspiring for a lot of people. By the way, I have linked your Instagram in the description below. My viewers, you can just go and check it out, and there are a lot of poems that you will like, I think you can understand and you will be inspired by. Yes.
Yeah, my advice on that would be, understand that you have to compromise on certain things. You cannot have everything. You cannot, say, be a published author and like a good student and simultaneously have a very happening social life. You have to compromise on something. And while you can't compromise on, your grades and your publishing, you have to compromise on your social life. You have to cancel on your friends. You can be like, no, sorry, I can't go out today. I can't, go out with you. I have work to do. That is something
Mhm.
like everyone has to understand. Success requires sacrifice. Greatness requires sacrifice.
Yes, what you're talking about is absolutely true. You cannot win if you don't sacrifice something from yourself, because you gain a lot from it. Obviously, to gain something, you have to give something, and that is the natural rule of the world. And moving on, how do you think your poetry reflects your own personality and experiences? And some poems that you think have really moved you and made you understand that, yes, this was something that was going in my mind. I never thought about it.
Right. So what I like to believe is that, what I like to achieve is that my poetry has a very distinctive voice. When we speak of poems, like really cliched romanticism poems come to our mind, but my poetry tends to be really uncensored and not sugar coated. I sometimes say things that can make people uncomfortable because they would prefer to say it in some other ways. But that is not how I want to say them. See, what I believe is that the world constantly risks complacency, and it is up to the artist to remind them of how uncertain everything is. And I think that's definitely something that reflects in my poetry.
Yes. Um, I think that is also, I think that is really interesting. And uh, a lot of, I think, like writing what you think is not like one of the most best way to express yourself. Write what your heart says and what you think, and what your ideology is, and what you don't know is going on inside you, but you understand through writing and introspecting inside yourself. And
Mhm.
moving on a worldwide basis, how do you think poetry is playing a role in the world, and how do you hope to contribute to this art form?
See, like I said before, the young people today are going through a lot of things, and with emerging poets and poetry coming back into fashion due to Instagram poets, poetry is regaining popularity, and young people are learning how to write themselves. So I think poetry will like really emerge as an important way of self-evaluation for the young, and how I will contribute to it is like, see, these days you will see that people tend to write free verse, poetry that is not rhyming and in the flow of thought. This emerged because in response to traditionalist poetry that had like strict rhyming schemes and everything. Now, if you see my poetry, it takes up traditional elements such as strict rhyming schemes, internal rhymes, and all of that. And that is because art is built on rebellion. This was their rebellion. This is mine. My rebellion
Yes.
is rebelling against the new nuance of Walt Whitman free verse that has taken place. This is my rebellion against it. That I think would be my contribution.
Okay. um how did you decide on the title and the cover design of your book, and how do you think these elements contribute to the overall impact of the book, and how it represents itself, and what did you think when you put this book out, and how do you want your readers to experience it?
See, the thing about Kali is that I did not actually start the title. When I was conceptualizing for this book, right? When I was just coming up with the concept of what the plot would be, what the story would be, I had this like theory, like this concept in mind, like yeah, I'm gonna write something about a little girl in British India, and I was looking for names that would fit the context. I thought about like other names, just Preeti and Suman and all that, but Kali just seemed to fit the bill perfectly. And then we all know, you and I know in Hindi, Kali means the bud of a flower. And then the entire concept of flowers came into being. You see this beautiful cover, it is designed by a friend of mine who's an artist,
Yes.
and all of the flower illustrations inside, let me just pull a couple up for you. The flower illustrations inside are done by my mother. Yeah, the reason for this being that I couldn't find any artist who could capture my visions the way, say, my mother and my best friend could.
Yes.
And this really like impacts the overall impact of the book, because when I published my first book, I was 13 years old, and a lot of the decisions, while they were obviously taken by me, it was like made by other people. Like the cover is designed by like a professional illustrator, all the other decisions are taken by the higher ups. But in this, it is the reason this book is a lot closer to my heart is because everything is super homemade and self done.
Yes.
A lot of this, every single element of this book has my fingers all over it.
Yes. So basically, it has your own flavor, your own twist, and your own
Exactly.
story, and how you exactly wanted it to be. I think that
Yes.
is a really important factor on making books something right for you, and completely spoiling the book. And I think this is a really good idea from your side, and it is last one was, yes, I think it was like, it was professional, it was designed as a way, as a professional book, a first book, the enter to you wanted to enter into a market you have never been in. So I think that was a risky, that was a very safe start, but this is a better approach inside, and you can
It is. I
express
agree.
yourself. Ultimately, poetry is something that was born out of the need to express yourself, and that is what you did with this book again. Yes. So for our viewers, can you share an interesting excerpt from the poem, something that you want your readers to know, and would give them a little tease of what's there waiting for them inside the book?
Sure. After the riot cries quieted down, and the screaming voice grew hoarse, and the marching beats the down enough for the rivers to change their course. When the white men with the megaphones grew tired and walked their leather boots back home, and the brown blood on the dirt roads has flowed back to the gullies, leaving the storyteller alone. The suit-faced boy with calloused hands lifts his head from the gravel road. As the sun threatens to set into the night, he walks back to his ruinous abode. A familiar place with dystopian alteration, the site of the Durga temple felt unreal. He had seen the site 1,000 times before, and he was still unsure of how to feel. The walls were scarred and broken down, the prayer hall now stained of violence. The songs on God were a distant echo, all the boy could hear was silence. They broke the idol of power by the right arm. They stripped the place of gold. They either drove out the priests or killed them. They silenced the stories we told. They taxed us of our dignity, tariffed us of our faith, whipped the bare brown backs of the helpless, and crowned themselves the same. They burnt our books and sew our lips shut, took our teachings with a scoff. Forgive me, the stamp of colonized has taken centuries to wash off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kamal's
So
eyes.
yes, can you explain what, like, the this part of the poem for our viewers?
Yeah, so like I said, the prologue basically spoke of um a boy of the age of 16 sitting in a peaceful protest, telling the other people at the protest a story, which is when the book begins. So the entire book is supposed to be the protester telling the other protesters the story. This is the epilogue, as in the story is over, and we are revealing what the identity of that peaceful protester is.
So basically, this is the narration of the actual story by
Yeah,
the 16-year-old boy, and
yes.
Kali has already died or whatever.
Uh,
What happened to
that
her?
is left ambiguous. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
that is
yes.
actually revealed in
That you
the
will know when
last.
you buy the book.
Yes, that you will know when you buy the book.
Yes. So, so do you have any future plans for writing projects, or do you have any other goals that you have to
Yeah,
that you hope
actually.
to achieve through your writing?
Yeah, we've already started like the concept work of the third book, which is a sequel to my first book, and the sequel for this book is already up in the air. But the concept work for the sequel of Ink on Paper has started already.
Oh, so any
Yeah.
do you have any other plans, like after doing your education from schools, what is your plan as an
Uh,
adult? What will you do, and what is your aim as a person? Because we have talked a lot of about poetry, literature, and your passion, but this is an interview about you. So tell us about yourself a little and what you want to do in the future.
while poetry is my passion and I'm never going to stop writing books,
Of
I
course,
aim to pursue journalism after graduating high school.
journalism. So
Yeah.
you want to become a reporter, or on an editing level, or some, what do you aim to do in
A reporter,
journalism?
I'm guessing. That is like level I'll go for.
Yes, so that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So do you have an aim of becoming, after becoming a reporter? What do you want to do, and what do you want to contribute to the world?
Uh, See, I always love art, and even if I become a reporter, I will be an artist at heart. So, advocating for the arts to be, for the arts to be put out into the for the young to the world. That is something I will aim for, and that is something I'll advocate for.
Hmm. Okay. Moving on. Let us talk about how you were inspired to write your book as a poem, and how did you go about structuring and organizing the story in this format? Because this is a format that not many people use throughout the
Right.
literature and writing industry, and writing as a poem is a very not a very common idea. So how, while you broke from the paradigm, can you tell us how you did it, and what were the challenges you faced?
Right. So, if you look into history, you will see that the greatest books in the world, the greatest stories in the world, are written in the form of a poem. The Mahabharata, the Ramayana in India itself, if you look outside, the Odyssey, the Iliad, even the oldest story in the world recorded, the story of Gilgamesh, is written in the form of poetry. This is a really special style called a ballad. It is when uh, a poem is written in the form of a traditional poetry, but at the same time, it narrates a story. And this is the ultimate test for a storyteller, because how do you balance the flexibility that poetry gives you while also, keeping true to the narrative and not going off, right?
Yes.
And,
So
keeping with the, yeah,
yes, so you were inspired by the poems and the ballads and the verses of the great poems and great illustrations of the old times and the epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana and the
the
Iliad.
apex.
And okay, so that is really interesting. And so that is really interesting. And writing in a traditional format, do you like, will you consider it in the future, writing a normal book like without the poems part of it?
I cannot speak for my future self, because if you'd asked me 2 or 3 years before, say if you were interviewing me for this book instead, I would have never agreed to writing a story in the first place. because
Yes.
narratives are something that's hard for me. Poetry comes to me easily. Narratives are something that's difficult for me. So I don't think I'm going to speak for my future self, but maybe I'll try. But
Yes.
poetry will forever be my method of expression.
Okay. Um, how can you share a brief summary and overview of the story and the themes in your book?
Oh yeah, sure. So Kali is the story of an 8-year-old girl stranded in British India, rural British India.
Yes.
Her father is a priest in the village Durga temple, and her mother is pregnant with her unborn sibling. And after her father passes away, she is forced to beg on the streets, to care for her pregnant mother and her unborn sibling. So this story
Yes.
basically follows her adventures, her happiness, her pain, her wisdom, and her encounters with the world. And while on the
Yes.
surface, this seems like a really a simple storyline, it is a testimony on colonialism, on colorism, religion, hypocrisy, deprivation, and poverty.
Yes. So this is, and the unborn brother is himself narrating the story.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that was something that was not clicking in my mind. Who is narrating the story then?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Then how did he come to know about the story if he was not born?
Yeah, because that part is left unsaid.
Ah,
He fell to his knees. The cold slabs of stone that made the floor till he held his hand. He took his first steps, tumbled to his knees, got up again, crawling, crying to his sister upset. So he was there. For the longest time, Kali was there. And while Kali's endings are left ambiguous, maybe that's for the second book.
yes. So moving on. Now we have like talked about for 40 minutes, and I'm really interested on how what is your advice for the children of India and the children who are watching this. What is your general advice for them, and what should they do in order to achieve what they want, their passion, and succeed in life? General advice.
My advice would be individuality. Live for yourself. We live in a world where everyone is like joining Akash, Alan preparing for JEE, and everyone needs everyone wants to be like a doctor, engineer. And while obviously I respect that, follow your dreams, but consider, is this my dream or is this someone doctrining me to do so? So individuality is definitely the way to go while thinking about success, because unless you love what you do, you won't succeed. Persistence can only take you so much. We talked about persistence, and we both are like, really,
that
what's the
that is
word?
a really it depends, because it depends on what you mean by success actually. Of
Right.
course you may be
That.
successful in life. There are a lot of people who do not have their passion or something but are really successful and have done great for many people around them in their lives, but
Yeah.
that is not the case for themselves and what they wanted to do. And
Exactly.
generally speaking, they can be successful but they cannot be happy, and they can be happy
Exactly.
but not in the way that they wanted, as fulfilling their passion and achieving what they wanted to do. But success
Exactly.
is something that can be achieved through hard work and doing something on a daily basis, following a journal, following your routine. And if you work hard enough, nothing will stop you from achieving anything you want in life. And but for happiness, you have to achieve what you want to be happy.
Right.
Yes, being successful in the thing that you want to do makes you happy. And
Exactly.
not, I think, even if you're not successful you can be happy. Like if you're writing on a small level and you're not publishing, like you are publishing your books, there's someone in India who's not publishing but writes because they love to write, but they do not want to express themselves or write the book because they don't have the time for it. So I think that also makes them happy, but they do not write or do it on a successful, like they don't want to be successful in that thing, they just enjoy it. And I think
Exactly.
that is what makes you happy, and what makes you successful is your hard work and the culmination of your desire and what
Yeah.
you want to do. moving on. Uh, Thank you for sharing your advice for the children, and two people that you would like to recommend to my show and uh, share their experience on their with our viewers.
So I don't know if you're aware, but two very pivotal people in currently, like the writing and poetry storytelling like world. Mehak Mirza Prabhu is definitely someone you should try to get on this show, and Mohit Sir from Hooted One. He
Ah,
organizes open mics and everything.
so,
These two people you should.
yeah, but someone you know that that should come from the recommendation, because I will of course thank you
Yeah,
for
I
the
know these
suggestion.
two people personally. I know them. Yeah,
You know them.
yes, I do.
Yes. So it would be great if you could share their contacts, and of course we'll
Yeah,
discuss that personally.
I'll link to it after
But
this.
moving on, some books that you would like to, as an author,
Right.
besides Kali and ink on paper, some books that you would recommend to our viewers to read and enjoy, and something that they can learn from them. These books, like 5 books, for example.
5 books. Oh yeah, one of them first of all should be first of all Kali. Definitely go to read.
No, no,
I'm
no,
kidding,
no,
I'm kidding.
no.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Kali, you we have already discussed about this, so my viewers are
I'm kidding,
already
I'm
going
kidding.
to check that out. But five more,
Yeah.
5 more
Five
books.
more okay, a controversial one, Anuruddha's Roy's The God of Small Things. Regardless of your political views, that is one book that you should read solely because of how beautifully it is written.
Yes,
uh, from a poetry point of view. So The God of Small Things is one. Then we have kind of basic, but The Alchemist will
yes,
change your view about things. Another basic one, Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People.
yes. I've read Alchemist and Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People,
Yeah,
but I've never heard about the first one because I'm not
yeah, The God of
active
Small
into that
Things.
poetry area. But of course,
Yeah,
it would be
probably
great if
that's
you
why.
could send the name of the book. I'll also put the 5 books that you mentioned in the description below. So yeah, just
Yeah,
feel free
definitely.
to tell 3 more books.
Yeah, three more books. Actually, two more books. Actually, we're done with three. One of them would be uh, Power. Power by I'm not sure of who the author is. Just
I
give
know,
me a second. I'll look.
yeah, Power
You know that
is,
one?
yes, I know Power. I know Power, and there is I don't know the, yeah, I just have it. Wait a second.
Yeah,
Yeah, Robert Greene. Sorry. Yeah,
yeah. This book
Green
will
Screen.
change your view about things. Beautiful book. Love it.
Yeah, Robert Greene. Yeah, it's a really interesting book, and it is not like traditional inspiration.
It's
It
not.
is more like it's more like how you can kill your best friend and get his like get his money, take his line of
Yeah, yeah,
succession,
yeah.
get
It's definitely
you're
morally
the minister and you can kill
ambiguous.
the king to take his kingdom. It's more like traditional way to power and how you can achieve
Yeah,
power and maintain and control that power. It's more
yeah.
like
I mean,
Sun
it's
Tzu's
banned in
art of
prisons and
war.
everything.
Yeah, it's like Sun Tzu's the art of war.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
exactly.
medieval book, and it is a practical book. It is not on conceptual.
Very.
It has many stories which makes you realize like how interesting the world was at that point of time and how
Yeah.
things played out. So moving on, one more bit.
One more book. Oh, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran.
Mm. I've
Beautiful
I've
book.
I've heard about this book and a lot of people have recommended to me, but I
Yeah,
I have not read it as of yet. Two more people
you
who
should
have
read it.
come on Aditya Talks have recommended this book to me, but I have not read it as of yet
It's
because I
a
have
beautiful book.
a lot of books on my
Right.
read list. So I'm just like I also have my 10th boards, so I'm just trying to
Yeah,
cope up with
yeah.
everything.
Focus on that one.
Yes, books are like, I try to enjoy them, but it's
Yeah,
not like a list. I have to complete this many books in 1 month.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
another one you should read is Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, something like
no
that.
Harari, yeah. Sapiens
Yeah, yeah,
is
that
also
guy.
one of his books.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sapiens or Suffrage? Sorry.
Sapiens, Sapiens,
Sapiens, I've read it. Yeah,
Sapiens.
I've read like half of the book, but it's very fat. So
Yeah,
it's like 400, 500 pages. So I've read like 250 pages. But that's how
yeah.
much I
I
got into it
completed
because
it.
it's
It's really interesting.
yeah, it's interesting, but it has a lot of knowledge
It
on how
does.
humans evolved to be how they are today. And
Yeah,
that is a really interesting thing, and we get to know why there were like 14 species of humans and why we are the only
yeah.
one alive today. We
Yeah, and that
like
she changes your worldview about things of how, human beings cannot handle different races, how they would like handle different species of themselves. That's like
yes,
really
it
crazy
is
to
like
think about.
the Sapiens is basically a story about how the humankind, the Homo sapiens, evolved to be smarter individuals, to work
Yeah.
smart, not hard. Because there were many species like Homo neanderthals who were like really
Yeah.
stronger than us. They could take us out easily. But we were smarter. We made weapons. We invented fire, and we took them out. And it was basically an fight over control over the area. And
Mm.
that is it. It gives you an interesting perspective on how we came to be what we are today. We were not just like
Yeah, it does.
born into this world like, yeah, we are humans. First on our checklist is to discover fire, then make stone weapons, and then to make technology, and then to advance. It was a gradual system, and we were shaped by the environment that God put us in. And we are here now because of the culmination of all those events. And that it
Exactly.
a really interesting perspective on humans and
Yeah,
how
it
we
also
are.
talks about like colonialism, right? Which is actually what like gave me a lot of perspective in writing Kali. Because like it talks about colonialism and the power play of one country over another. That was really interesting to read about.
Yes. Moving on. Can you tell us some advice for Aditya Talks, and what did you like about our show?
I definitely like your confidence. That goes without saying. Like you like what, 15?
I'm 14 actually. I should
14?
be in ninth grade, but I'm in 10th.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking. You look a little young for 10th.
Yeah, 1 year.
So
Yeah.
yeah, for 14, you have like great confidence. You're doing really good. You already have like a name for yourself. That I really respect. And other than that, I really like how your channel has like a great versatility in terms of people you call. You have people from shipping. You have people from you have scientists. You have poets coming and talking. So the versatility in the people you call is really interesting. Like some talk shows they only talk about tech, and it gets a little boring at times. You have like
Yes.
a great culmination of leaders and people like, from different walks of life. That is really good.
Yes. I the basically the goal of this channel is to provide inspiration for the children to learn and gather those experiences of the people who have spent a lot of time refining themselves, for solving the problems and facing the problems faced while they were traversing their walk of life. And from their experience, I hope that my viewers can learn and take this into account and go into the future without any problem, knowing that what will come to them and how they can solve it easily.
You're doing a
Yeah,
great job. I wish you best of luck.
thank
And I'm
you.
excited to see how you grow.
Yeah, and I'm excited for your second book on ink on paper. So yeah, of course, my friends, check out the link of the both of the books on they are available on Amazon, Flipkart. Uh, check check. I'll link them below. Just check them out, and there will be an option to like read the book, right? Get a free sample
Yeah,
on Amazon. Yeah, you
yeah,
just
yeah,
check
yeah.
it out, read it, and if you don't like it, of course you can just you can avoid it. But if you like it, and if you were watching till here, then I assume that you liked the interview and you will like the book also. Thank you for coming, and let's see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.